Hello. Welcome to Menopause Chats. I am delighted to have everybody here. Thank you for watching. Today we're talking to a friend of mine named Michelle, and I'm going to let her introduce herself and her story. So thank you, Michelle, so much for joining us today. And I would love to hear, like, where are you on your journey? What would you like? What would you like to share?
And thanks for having me. I am I have been in menopause since February 12th, 2024.
I love the exact date.
I know the exact date. I In October of 2023, I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, and I part of my treatment plan, I had a double mastectomy, and because my cancer is hormone positive, we needed to cut off all sources of estrogen. So I started with a hormone suppressing shot. I got that February, I think, 11th. And then, or no, I got it February 12th and then had my first hot flash that night.
Surprise.
Yep.
Was that a surprise? Like you're like, oh, I didn't think it was gonna happen that fast.
Oh, of course. Yes, absolutely was not expecting it to happen immediately. And I had never felt anything like that before. I was like, oh, this must be a hot flash.
Right? I think that's the thing. It's like you don't really know what they feel like. And so all of a sudden you're like, is this it? I don't know. Like,
Yeah. And then trying to describe it to people, just
right.
like, well, it's just like a rush of lava.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's,
And were you did your doctors talk to you that like this might be like this is going to happen, or was it just literally like, oh, wait, what?
my oncologist at the time had given me a heads up. He said you're gonna start menopause and you will get hot flashes. But he was actually talking, I'm on an anti-anxiety medicine, and he said, great, I'm going to up your dosage of that because that's going to help. The SSRI is going to help uh, mitigate your hot flashes. And so if they're as bad as they are with an SSRI, I cannot imagine how awful they would be for me
Yeah.
without that.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons like I was so glad you agreed to join us because I didn't it was it was one of the things I didn't know was that like people, can go through like sort of a medically induced menopause.
Mhm.
I had no idea that was a thing. And so I was like, oh, that's an interesting perspective and story. And I bet if I don't know, there's probably a lot of, I mean, so
Yes.
many of us don't know about menopause, which is the whole
Mhm.
purpose of this. And oh, what can we do? What can we expect from others? Like what sharing our stories can be super helpful for other people. So
Absolutely.
but yeah, I wasn't sure where like, yeah, that they tell you because so you can't, one of the obviously one way to mitigate, against, and one of the reasons why we get hot flashes is the drop in estrogen. And so if we, one way is to go on a hormone replacement, which you aren't able to do, and not everybody can. So I tell people like talk to your doctor because everybody's, personal stuff is different.
Mhm.
And so it sounds like one of the ways like is this SSRI to like be able to mitigate that for you.
Yeah, and it's great. And I had realized that I was under medicated when I was on it before because I was like, oh, this is great. I'm actually feeling like a normal human. So, uh,
Yeah, my hot flashes weren't really bad, but they were like still like, oh, this is happening, right? Like you still it's noticeable, but again, not everybody gets them. So like, but that's all you hear about. So that's the
exactly.
thing. It's like,
Yes.
oh, but there's so many other things. So you were also, before we came on, we were chatting and you were also talking about like other things that you're like, oh, I don't know if this is a side effect or if it's menopause. Do you want to talk a little bit about like some of the other symptoms that you kind of feel?
Sure. Yeah. A big thing for me right now is joint stiffness. It's not even, there's no pain. It's just a lot of really stiff joints. If I'm sitting for a while and I stand up, I'm almost like getting into my crone phase where I'm kind of hunched over and it takes me a moment to stretch out, and going down the stairs. I almost have to stretch before I do anything because otherwise it's just stiff. It doesn't hurt, but I just don't have the mobility and the flexibility that I used to have, which was weird. I wasn't expecting that. It was just a bonus surprise.
A bonus you don't want.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like I think I shared that with you as well. Like I had some knee pain and I thought
Hmm.
just I'm getting older. I used to run. Maybe my running days are over.
Hmm.
And then being like, oh, I didn't realize like it's related, it could or it could be related, right? And it's like, oh, okay, well, here we are. Like let me do other stuff then. Let me or like let me do more gentle things.
Yes, exactly. And I've been trying to walk every day because my oncologist was saying the most important thing you can do is move, you gotta move your body. So I've been doing that. I had thought about running. I had tried running a couple years ago, but because my cancer has metastasized into my spine, I have to be gentle with my spine now. So no kind of high impact stuff like running, which I'm like, oh, too bad.
Yeah. Oh, so
Can't
I can't
run.
run.
So yeah, I've been trying to do a lot of stretching. I've incorporated that into my daily routine of just, when I'm watching TV in the evening, I'll just sit on the floor and do some stretches, and that seems to help a lot. So
Yeah.
I'm
And I
trying to
mean,
make it a habit.
you see different things too about like, should women who are aging do high intensity activities or is like walking the best thing? And some I'm of the philosophy now of like, if it feels good for you, do it. Like if you don't
Exactly.
feel like, because I know the whole idea is like, oh, some of the high intensity stuff raises cortisol levels and it's like, but if it's feeling good and for me there was a point where I was doing some more high intensity stuff and it felt good and then there was a point where it didn't, so it's like just sort of listening to your body of like
Yes,
I don't, this doesn't feel good to me anymore, so I'm going to walk. um
exactly.
and I've always loved a good walk. I think we've walked together
We
before.
have walked together. Yes.
Walked before. I love that, just the like, oh, let's just like it's spending time outdoors and
Hmm.
just having that experience. So,
And yeah.
um, is there, I guess for you, is there like, so it sounds like what's helping right now is sort of the stretching and the daily
Mhm.
movement. Um, and, is there anything you wish to tell others? Because your journey is a little bit different, I guess, is there things that you maybe wish you knew sooner, or you're like, oh, if I have someone's ear, I want to tell them this.
The thing I have been telling people, because a lot of my girlfriends are going through like perimenopause right now. I'm in my mid 40s, and that's just a
Yeah.
normal way we're at. And what I've been telling people is no one told me about vaginal atrophy.
Mm,
Like that is
right,
wild. I
right.
did not know that it was a thing. And now since I've gone through menopause, I've started reading about it. But yeah, it's huge, and not even my OBGYN
Yeah, and
did
my
anything about it.
yeah, and I love that you brought that up because yes, I had a similar experience where it's like, oh well, you go to physical therapy and we're like so and all these things and like
Mhm.
nothing was fixing it.
Yeah.
It's like, but nobody, like just people, like they're like, well, we're gonna fix the problem, and the problem is to go to physical therapy, which is a very interesting experience. And so it's like, like is that physical therapy? Like if you've been to it for just regular, not that a vagina is not a regular body part, but like,
Sure.
if it's a, an elbow or a knee or something,
Yeah.
usually they're doing stretches and stuff and they're just having a conversation with you. But this is the same thing, except for like, this was my experience. Like literally a woman has her fingers in my vagina and is poking around and then just having a conversation with me.
Yep.
And it's like, this is the weirdest, like, we're talking about The Walking Dead right now.
Yes. Yep.
And I was like, this is a very like in my head, like I literally was like, I'm gonna remember this moment. It's like, this is such a weird
Hmm.
experience. And they're professionals. It was not, awkward in
Sure.
a sense, but it is sort of like this is happening. We're just having a casual conversation.
Exactly. Exactly. Like I keep reading when I reading things, it's like use it or lose it.
Yeah,
And uh I was laughing because with my journey, you know what doesn't make me feel like doing anything sexy is cancer.
right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're like, yeah, this is not at
yeah,
all.
yeah.
Um, and so yeah, it's like yeah, again, I'm so glad you brought that up because it is this thing of like, and nobody talks about it, which is the
No
whole
one talks
purpose of
about
me
it.
doing this. It's like I want people to know it's like these things are normal. And
Hmm.
mine was like also partially like a bladder prolapse. Again,
Okay.
which can happen when people have kids. I haven't had kids.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, apparently, because I was constipated for years, like this was a problem. It's the same, the same experience. But again, like, people don't talk about that. So please drink more water, folks. So you're not
Yeah,
constipated. You're not pushing,
exactly.
causing your bladder to prolapse because of it. But it is there's part of me like doing this, being like, oh, there's risk of me like sharing with people like these very personal sort of
Hmm.
stuff. But I also feel that there's power in sharing that with people of like, hey, I'm not ashamed that it
Hmm.
happened. And I wish I knew sooner because clearly I found out I was postmenopausal thinking I was perimenopausal, finding out I was postmenopausal. But part of that was that like, oh, and now I look back at all these little things that were bothering me in my 40s, in my earlier 40s, that it's like, oh, this was actually, but nobody was piecing it together either. So it's like, okay, at least like it's just like, oh, I didn't realize that like these little things could all have been, you know, menopause related. And it's like, huh. And that
Yeah,
caused me into like getting into this deep dive of like, oh, I gotta like check out. Like, now I want to read more. I want to know more. I want to.
exactly.
What else don't I know? Oh, there's a lot still. But wanting to share like other people's, story.
Yeah, I've been especially with my cancer, I hate to call it a journey, but with my experience with cancer, I've been a very open book. Like I'm trying to share everything with people, just because that's kind of in my nature. I just want people to know what's going on with me, and I think it's good to educate people. And now that I'm in menopause, I have been kind of spreading that loud and clear everywhere. And so now I'm trying to kind of take away some of the stigma of talking about it. So if I'm in a meeting, because I work remotely, so sometimes my coworkers will see me like pull up my little personal fan, uh, and I'll just say, "Oh, I'm having a hot flash," just so they know. And I'm very open
Yeah, I
about
had a coworker like that too. She'd be like, she'd always have like a tank top on and a
it.
sweater,
Yep,
and then she'd be like, "Oh, I take my sweater off."
yep.
Like, yep.
Oh, I layer every day. It's
Yeah. And my
wonderful.
hot flashes were more at night. So like I ended up more of like, oh my God, I'm hot, I'm cold, I'm hot, I'm cold.
Mhm.
Like, like I can't regulate, which then disrupts sleep and then sleep causes problems.
Mhm.
So it's like it just sort of trickles down into, into a little bit of everything. You had said, is there anything you want to share, anything more you want to share with people of, around? So you're saying like, oh, like since you had your diagnosis, like wanting to like share with people stuff. Is there anything around that you'd like to share since we have some?
Um, Yeah, I mean it's all doable. I'm getting through all of it, and it's my cancer treatment's going well, my menopause is going well. One thing that I was a little bit surprised about, and I don't know if it was because it was so abrupt and mixed up with the cancer garbage, was kind of mourning the loss of menstruation. It's that the factory was closed and I don't have kids either, and that was kind of off the table before I went through this, but this has been, a monthly recurrence since I was, 11 years old, and it was just gone. And honestly, I do not miss it whatsoever. It's wonderful. I forgot that I used to, go through that every single month, and my hormones have leveled off for sure. Uh, but yeah, there was a little bit of that mourning going with it, because especially because it was so abrupt.
I feel
So
like we should have like there should be like menopause parties. Like people have like kinky
yeah,
stuff like that. There should be like some like celebration of like no more. Maybe people
exactly.
do that, but that just what popped into my head of like, oh, there should be like some party of like
Exactly. And actually, what was interesting for me was I did misremember at the beginning. I had gotten my hormone shot a week before, so it was February 6th. But my oncologist had said, he said, you'll have one more period and then you're done. So I had started my final period because it was the day before my birthday, in 2024.
yeah.
Happy birthday. It was wonderful. Have some cramps. It's just a final hurrah of cramps. So it was very strange knowing that, because I know for anyone who's just going through menopause naturally, you just it's always that waiting game, like, oh, it's been 11 months. Am I almost there? Am I almost there?
And nope, all of a sudden, then you're
Yep.
like, what? The clock's got to start all over.
Exactly. So for this to, it felt a little momentous to kind of know
Yeah.
that this was it. And then I was done. And I was like, oh, this is kind of
I don't
okay.
even know what my last one was. It was just sort
Yeah.
of okay, I guess maybe I don't know,
Yeah. So,
Uh,
it was,
yeah, you had this sort of like yeah, you had like a distinctive line in the sand.
mhm.
Like, okay, this is it. This is my, this is my last cramp.
Yeah. Oh, it's been wonderful. And honestly,
Yeah.
it's been great to not have to worry about it. And
Yeah, I mean, it is something that, at least thinking back to my own experience, right, of being like younger and being like, especially if you're sexually active and
mhm.
even if you're married or not married, you're like,
Yeah.
but still like this, like, is it coming this month? Is it not, like,
Yep.
let's, it's depending on if you wanted kids or not. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
whole experience too. So, and like that whole roller coaster of like, I've had friends who, were trying to have children and like that
Mhm.
experience. And, whereas mine was always the opposite of like, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a, it is like to think like, oh, I don't have to, there's some freedom in that now, like too.
Oh, wonderful.
I don't have to worry about this, that
I
shipping,
know.
you
I haven't ruined a pair of underwear in a year.
right?
So more
Oh
than
my
a year.
gosh, like those days of like, particularly like I remember like in high school, right? Of
Uh-huh.
like, oh my gosh, like I got up from my seat and like, oops. And like how
Mhm.
embarrassed, like, like to me, I remember being like really embarrassed. Like I had a friend in high school and our code was like, did I fall asleep?
Mhm.
And that would be like, you get up and you'd be like, did I fall asleep? And you would look at their behind and be like, no, you were awake. Like, that was like our code word.
That. I love
Where
that.
we're like, oh, is there anything? Do I need to put a sweater around my waist?
Mhm.
Like, no, you're good. It's just little things. It's like I never have to worry about that again. I didn't have
Exactly.
to worry about like, oh, I'm on vacation and I didn't bring tampons.
Oh, I had my period on my honeymoon. It was
Happy
it
honeymoon.
it, it came early. It was great.
Like, sorry, I know this is
Yep.
romantic. Here
Exactly.
we are. We have a lifetime together, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
What a day? What the day? Yeah, it's just these I didn't even think about like the mourning a lot about.
Yeah, it was, I mean, and again, it was all wrapped up in cancer and everything, but yeah, but it was something I didn't expect to feel because it's been a pain literally for 30 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I'm free. And there's freedom in that, and I love it. And you know, I don't know if it's the absence of hormones, but now like I do not give an F about anything. It's great.
I know. I don't know if it's hormones either, or if it's just like the aging process and
Yeah.
like getting
Yep.
older and like going, you know what? I didn't really need to worry about that. Like
Yeah.
I spent so much time worrying about what other people thought of me when I was younger.
Totally.
Now I don't really care. And I'm like, I'm not for everybody. I'm sure that like people probably watch this and I'm like, yeah, you're a little weird. Okay, great.
Yeah.
I'm the right kind of weird for the right kind of people.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, anything else that you'd like to share that I haven't asked or we haven't talked about before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I mean, I think I think the most important thing we can do is talk to each other and share and, support each other and just, yeah,
Or
don't, yeah, don't give a rat's behind about what anybody thinks and, just embrace it. And I don't know. Also get your mammograms.
right, very, very much so.
If you
And
notice anything,
even if you,
yes.
yeah, and if you notice anything weird, even after you have
Yep.
like,
Exactly. Yep. That's what happened to me. Post my regular mammogram, I noticed some differences in one of my breasts, and so I went back and another mammogram didn't show anything, but then the ultrasound did. So just pay attention to your body. Yeah, like we were saying before, you know your own body the best. I could just tell something was not right. So thank goodness I did.
that voice and ask.
Yes, listen. Exactly.
Because to your point, probably like the medical community be like, oh no, like your mammogram is clear. Like, well, you don't
Oh
need,
yeah.
like, no,
Yes.
like something's not right.
No, my OBGYN said, well, you do have dense tissue on that side, and I don't feel anything, but if it'll make you feel better, we'll do it again and get an ultrasound. And then, I jumped straight to stage 4. So it's like this would have been great to catch the year before or 2 years ago. So
But yeah, definitely like listen to your like advocate,
listen to yourself. Yes.
and also still get your mammogram.
Exactly. Exactly.
So anyway, thank you so much. I super appreciate you being here.
Of
Thank
course.
you to anybody who's watching. Feel free to comment and share, of course. And if you're interested in being a guest, please let me know. Otherwise, I hope everyone has a wonderful day and we will see you next time.